people who, on a daily basis, actively pursue their strengths, what they're good at, your talent, your gift, whatever word you want to call it, it's that thing that's bubbling up inside of you, and you just can't harness it in, and you don't want to. You want to let it go. It's that thing that people say, oh my gosh, you're so good at that. How do you do that? That looks so hard to me. It's that other thing that people come to you all the time for. And maybe that starts to get on your nerves. But that's your first clue that if people are coming to you all the time for a certain thing, there's a natural affinity there for that. You might want to pay attention to it. So people who actively hone in on their strengths, and when I say actively, it's not just knowing them, right? It's not just knowing that I'm a learner, that I'm a developer, that I'm a restorer, that I'm an intellectualizer, which can be a gift and a curse. But it's actively taking steps to develop them. And so people who do that are 8 times more likely to be engaged. 8 times. And did you know, by the way, that in the workforce, about 70% of the workforce is disengaged at work? That means about 70% of you, of us, are disengaged at work. And that's not an accusation. It's just a fact, and it's a reflection of our culture that focuses on our weaknesses, on our deficits, on our withouts, and it doesn't focus on what we're good at. So if we spend all day focusing on what we don't have, then we end up feeling very unfulfilled and very unaccomplished at the end of the day. So my question to you is, if you knew that you could be 8 times more engaged, and this isn't just at work, okay? Engagement means wherever I am fully present, I'm fully engaged, I am accessing what I'm good at, I'm sharing it with you, and I'm pulling it out of you too, just by proxy. That's what happens, right? People, if you could just fill in the blank for me, I want you to say, if I could be 8 times more engaged in my relationship with blank. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to get that person in your head. In my relationship with blank, if I could be 8 times more engaged, what would happen? What would happen in the relationship? What good things would start to flow?
Stronger.
Stronger. The relationship would be stronger. Absolutely. Anything else? Throw it out there.
Learn more about one another.
Yes, learn more about one another, absolutely, because the doors are open. It's like a gateway is open. Let me just give you a little example. If I'm not actively learning or developing someone, and I'm maybe stuck at home all day, I'm doing some stuff, maybe household work, or trying to train this crazy new puppy I just got. It's not working very well, but I'm learning. I have battle scars all over me. But anyway, so if I'm there and I don't have this interaction, so something that you guys need to know about me is I will get 800% more from this than each of you will today. I guarantee you. Because I come up here and I kind of have in mind what I'm going to say, but I start to learn. I learn not just from what you say and the feedback that I get, but I learn from your facial expressions. I learn what's hitting home and what's not. And I love that. I thrive on that. So thank you guys for the opportunity for that, by the way. But if I am in a situation like that, where I'm not having that human interaction, that relationship development that I need to thrive, to devote my strengths to, right? Then my business partner, Crystal Smith, is here, which I'm so glad that you're here to support me. Thank you. We have this saying, and when we aren't accessing our strengths, it's literally like a physical deflating. And so we call it merping, right? So where we'll say, how are you doing today? And if I haven't been out and about doing things like this, accessing my strengths, we say, right? Because that's kind of what happens, is you just merp. And you go through life merping, too many of us. And I gotta tell you, it's not something that you'll ever have to stop practicing. But I want to shape your attention to your strengths, because when we start to focus on the merp feeling and everything that we don't have, that means that our focus has been totally derailed from what makes us beautifully unique. And I want each of you in here to know and to figure out who you were created to be. Not what you were created to do, but who you are inherently that is uniquely you that not anybody else next to you or in this room can touch. And that's the beauty of relationships, right? Because, and I'll just use my business relationship as an example, my strengths are 100% different from my business partner's strengths. 100%. And that's a great thing, right? Because I'm awesome at coming up with ideas and, you know, philosophizing and doing all of these things, and Crystal is the executor. Well, in a good way, right? So, she's the strategist, and she's the person who executes things and makes them happen. I'm just the developer. Oh, let's do this, right? And so we perfectly complement each other. And so you want that. You want that in your personal relationships and your work relationships. So next time you think about a conflict, maybe, that you're having in a relationship, instead of thinking, I don't understand why they can't see that point, I want you to ask yourself what strength of theirs it is that you're missing out on that you could have access to, that you could help bring out in them, right? That's what this is all about, is helping each other shine so that you're walking through life feeling very, very like you're fulfilling your purpose. Really, right? So that's to me what the importance of finding out your strengths is all about, but I also know that before we can get to strengths, we have to clear up a few questions. So the first of those is, why do we focus on what we don't have? Why do we focus on who we are not? Why do we focus on our deficits? Why do we do that? In general, feedback.
Because that's what most people give you feedback on. Especially like in the workplace, they'll say, this is what you didn't do right and what you need to focus on, so it comes externally to you as well.
So particularly in performance evaluations, right? All the places where you're falling short. Yeah.
I think in general, society tends to say, you know, you have a pimple on your chin. It's not that your face, you've got great skin. It's you've got a pimple. You're too fat. You're too this. You look better if you wore this.
Yes.
It's always from the negative.
It's always from the negative. And so a little hint for you guys, your brain, by the way, is wired to see the negative. It's been like that historically from the dawn of creation. We were wired to see threats, to see what's wrong, right? So it is a physical, remember, it's a physical battle, it's a mental battle every day to rewire your brain, but I can assure you that it's possible. It's possible to rewire your brain to look for the positive, in other words, what I like to refer to as the truth. Because the negative can quickly spiral out of control. But you're absolutely right. People give us feedback, and society in general talks about the way we look, how we're not good enough. That's particularly problematic for women, right? We're told over and over again how we should look on billboards and magazine covers, on TV shows, right? We're constantly told what we should be and how we should be. But really, if you think about it, it's so ingrained, and I'm going to challenge each of you here. I want you to be challenged when you leave here. I want you to be challenged to evaluate your own self and how you may perpetuate this focus on the negative, focus on the deficits, because we all do it. But parents that get, a child comes home with a report card, right? And they have 2 A's, 2 B's, and a C. What's discussed at the dinner table? The C. You're absolutely right, it's the C. Well, I'm going to tell you, not everybody's meant to get straight A's in everything, right? And it turns out the C is average, right? But we've made C not average. We made C way below average, not good enough. And instead of celebrating, wow, that looks like that stuff comes easy to you, we talk about how we need to focus and develop our weaknesses. Which, guess what? If we have a weakness, you can always try to develop a new skill, but if it doesn't come naturally to you, you're going to be fighting a losing battle. You're going to be that hamster on a wheel. And we don't want our kids to do that either. It's a focus when, I'm going to use a parent and child example again, just to show you how ingrained it is in us. So a parent and child go on a playground, right? And the child falls down and bumps, trips over the mulch or whatever, the rubber mulch now, it's not even a rubber mulch. They trip over the rubber mulch, so the worst they can do is bounce back up, right? And the mom goes, oh my God, are you okay, are you okay? And then the kid's like, oh, I was, but I must not be right now, right? Because you just freaked out, you just focused on what must be wrong, right? As opposed to, get up, dust it off, you're fine, right? It's a very different message. It's a very different message. And then the other example that I wanted to share with you was what you brought up, Candy, was job performance evaluation, but also interviews. Okay, if you're doing this, please take it off of your interview question schedule. Tell me 3 weaknesses about you. Tell me something you wouldn't want me to know. You know? Come on. I want to know what you're good at. I want to know what you are, what I can tap into you. Because if I can tap into something in you that makes you thrive, guess what you're going to do for my business? It's going to be amazing. Imagine if everybody was walking around feeling so fulfilled. So, but they're not. And so now I have another question for you. Why do women in particular struggle with focusing on the positive, the truth, the strength, the talent, the gift, the uniqueness? Why is that particularly hard for women?
Say that again.
Why is it particularly hard for women to focus on the positive, on the strengths, on the accomplishments?
We compare ourselves to one another.
Yeah, we could, yeah. Well, so, I mean, I love men, don't get me wrong, but we think, right? So, we think all the time, right? And so what happens is we latch on to this one little thought, right? At the end of the day, evaluating everything I've done, I'm latching on to this one little thought, and I think, oh my gosh, I didn't fold the socks the right way. Or I couldn't, you know, I didn't get that one spot on the sink. And we roll with it. It doesn't stop there, right? We roll with it, and then we wake up feeling really defeated in the morning. I might wake up and say, oh my gosh, I hate my hair, right? And then I go, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, oh gosh, where do those wrinkles come from? Oh, cellulite, you know? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And we are our own worst enemies. So, what stops us from growing? Are you guys familiar with the goldfish and how the goldfish grows or doesn't grow? Can somebody share that with us? What's that? The bigger the bowl, the bigger the fish. Okay, so you're kind of right. I thank you for playing. That was nice of you. Put yourself in the chopping block. So, yeah, so basically there's this saying that says, there's belief that says that goldfish do not thrive, grow bigger. They can grow up to 10 pounds. Did you guys know that? 10 pounds, that's massive. That's like dinner for 5 or 6. So, not that you would eat little bubble guppy, but okay. So, they say that this bowl constricts the growth of the goldfish. So if you kind of looked at that as your world, you know, how you see your world, the bowl is the world of possibility, your world of possibility, because we all have different ones, right? It's not the same for each of us. It's informed by our own unique temperament, our experiences, our family of origin. It's informed by all of those things. But actually, it's not the case. The fish will thrive and the fish will grow in any size bowl if there is proper water filtration. Why do you need to have water filtration? Oxygen, toxins, the waste, right? All the waste. If you can't get rid of the waste, then I cannot thrive. And I got to tell you that every single piece of negative thought that runs through your mind is waste, because it will keep you right there. You will never move past, you will never thrive, you will never even see what you have the potential to be, what your unique strengths are, if you are swimming around in your own waste. And I challenge you, because I want you to hear me. I want you to challenge yourself. Every single time you have a negative thought about yourself, I'll never be good enough. I'm not going to ask anybody to raise hands, but I can tell you I can talk about this stuff because I am her. I'm that person. I get it. I know what goes through people's heads, and I've sat with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on the couch across from me that have these things in their head, and nobody's talking about them, but we do, and I know each of you do. I don't know what your statement is to yourself. You know that. You need to take that statement and discard it like the waste that it is. And you need to replace it with what you are naturally good at. And I think that there's a fear there too, right? Sometimes it's easier to murmur, right? It is. Sometimes it's easier to murmur, not, get off the couch, keep the pajamas on, and eat your Lucky Charms, or whatever your secret vice is. Mine's not Lucky Charms. It just came to mind because I miss Lucky Charms. Can't eat them anymore. But anyway, you really have to be willing to know that some things are going to happen. One, when you first identify your strengths and what they are, your natural gifts. How many in here are confident that they know exactly what they're good at? 100% confident. Yeah, that's good. Not that many of you though, right? That's the rarity. And I want to challenge each of you, one, to take this assessment that I'm going to send the link to Jody. It's $15, half hour of your time. I don't get paid for endorsing it. But being a clinical psychologist and having administered tons of psychological testing over the years, I can tell you that this is the premier instrument that reveals the most about you in the most authentic way compared to any true psychological testing I've encountered. So I've used it with a lot of my clients. Crystal and I have used it with our on-site training clients at different businesses. And it's very effective because people become enlightened. It's not necessarily that the information surprises you, but it provides a context for you. And it provides a context for you to focus on that which is good about you, that which is natural to you, that which you were created to be. And I want each person in here to go out there and fight for that. But here's the thing. It's not good enough to just know, right? I can know I'm not supposed to run out into the middle of the street when there's cars, right? But if I don't listen to that, if I don't do anything with that, if I don't look both ways before I cross the street, I'm going to get creamed, right? It's no different with this. You have the knowledge of what you're good at, and then you make an action to every day develop that. And I got to tell you, it's not going to be easy because you're going to have days when you're going to murmur, right? I have them. It doesn't mean it stops, right? Just because now I'm on this right path. But once you discover them and you make that action plan, every single little thing that you do. So the other day I was murmuring, and I said, okay, gotta get out of the shit, gotta get out of this, get out of everything that you're not, right? And focus on everything that you are. And I just said, okay, I gotta learn something, I gotta learn something. So I typed it, but my mind was so derailed and so focused on the negative that I couldn't even think of one single thing that I wanted to learn about. My yearning was thwarted, just like that goldfish. My growth was thwarted because I was swimming around in my own waste, okay? I let myself do it too, by the way, and sometimes that's all right to do, just recognize that you're doing it. So I literally Googled, I want to learn something today. Because I didn't know what I wanted to learn. Right? And yeah, no, it really is. But I'm so excited, you guys. I found like 10 websites that have like a new thing to learn every day. And almost immediately, as I started to delve into that, I was like texting people, hey, did you know this? And I could feel myself unmurking, right? Because I was accessing who I am, which is a learner. And then I was sharing. You can't just do one part, you have to do it all. But I do encourage you guys that you're going to face setbacks, You're going to face challenges. This is not easy. It is an everyday, moment-by-moment process because women in particular have this negative thought loop. And I got to tell you, you have to be the one to tell it to stop. Because if you don't, and you're murping, everyone around you is going to be murping. And nobody around you is going to see you, who you really are. They're going to see your waist. They're not going to see the unique you. So I want each of you to go after today, and I want you to find that unique you. The you who is already, it doesn't need to be developed. It's you already. It's there. It's just waiting to bust out of that tiny goldfish bowl and take on the world and live life in a way that's exciting and meaningful. So that's what I ask you to do today, is to go and discover your strengths. And now I will take questions or comments.
I have this. You're probably going to sign me up for your couch. But
We all need to be there.
Now, actually, I'll sign you up for Deandra's couch. She's my colleague now. Yeah.
I love what you're saying. But I do have a question. I don't necessarily think that finding the negative is bad either.
Yeah.
As long as you challenge yourself to find the positive.
So, yes, I would agree, yes and no. So you hit on a point that I actually didn't cover, which was that self-awareness is a good thing,
Yeah, that's kind of
right? Self-awareness is a good thing. It's good to acknowledge my shortcomings.
right.
It is not good to dwell on it. Because acknowledging and moving on, acknowledging and asking for help, you're right, I'm not very good at that. It's not, I'll do better next time, because no, you won't. Not if it doesn't come natural to you. It's, I'm going to figure out how to make that thing happen, because I know I'm not good at it. So
Yeah, that's
does
what
that
I'm
help to
saying, yeah.
differentiate? Yeah, absolutely. Self-awareness is good, but women in particular, because we ruminate, and we have these loops that run through our head. Candy, my friend Candy, is here, that I've been friends with since I was 3, so she knows all of my murping. But we were just talking the other day about a word. There's like 40 words that describe emotions that you didn't know had a name for them or whatever. And one of them was having 8 million conversations in your head before you actually have a real one, right? So it really does happen to us in particular. But we are in our heads. And so we really have to challenge ourselves with the truth. Because let me tell you something else about your brains. Your brains don't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So if that's the truth, then you got to tell it what it's going to believe. You have to tell it. Because if you keep in that negative thought loop, that waste, that's what you're really going to believe. And that's going to dictate everything that follows. Thank you.
How do you change the tape?
How do you change the tape?
How do you take that tape out that's playing in the loop? And
Yeah.
the
So
right tape?
let me tell you something. Several years back, probably not that long ago, 3 years ago, I went through a period of significant anxiety. And all the anxiety stemmed from these negative thought loops that were in my head, right? And I won't go into details, but basically what I did, Jane, and this is something I've encouraged everybody to do, and it's very effective, but you have to replace the tape with a new one, but you got to write it down. Because here's what happens. When that loop starts playing, you can't stop. Because it's such a part of you. It's ingrained into you. You can't stop it. You physically can't. So what I did is I took a notebook, and on one side I wrote lie, fantasy, right? And the other side I wrote truth. And so I went through a time where I literally had to open that book probably 30 times a day. Because that's how constant the negative loop was. So I know what it's like, I know how damaging it can be, and I know that you can push through it and overcome it, and then really start to believe the truth about yourself. And the truth about me being a learner and a sharer, look what I'm doing today. I'm sharing with you guys. I would have never done that if I hadn't gotten out of that negative waste thought loop. So I want you guys to realize your potential, but there's lots of other techniques, Jane, but that's a really, really useful one because everybody has an internal dialogue that's unique to them. You have things you say to yourself, right? We all do. And you got to replace it. You can't just say, I'm going to stop saying that, because you won't. You have to come up with something to replace